All right, let's talk about one of the most powerful but honestly simplest tools for building real wealth: compound interest. Think of it as this quiet engine that's always working in the background, capable of turning small, regular savings into an absolute fortune.
You've probably heard this quote before, right? It's often linked to Albert Einstein, and it just perfectly nails the two sides of this coin. Compounding can be your best friend financially, or it can be your worst enemy. Our goal here is to make absolutely sure you're on the side that earns it.
So let's actually pull back the curtain on this. I mean, it can feel like some kind of financial wizardry, but its principles are pure math, and they've been developing for literally millennia. We're talking thousands and thousands of years.
To really get a grip on compound interest, we've got to go back in time. And I mean way back. We're talking about the very dawn of civilization here.
You know, the idea of interest is anything but new. Get this, in ancient Mesopotamia, they set interest at 20% a year. Not because of the market, but because it was just easy to calculate with their number system. Then the Romans came along and set it to about 8.33%, tying it to their 12-month calendar. But the real game changer? That was Fibonacci. When he brought our modern number system to Europe, it suddenly made the complex math needed for long-term growth possible for way more people.
And the language they used, oh, it tells such a cool story. The ancient words for interest, like mosh in Sumerian, literally meant birth or offspring. Isn't that amazing? They saw money as something that could naturally reproduce, that it could have babies and create more of itself. That simple idea is the absolute heart of compound interest.
Okay, so let's jump from that ancient idea to the powerful mathematical engine that makes it all work today.
Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks a little intimidating, but trust me, it's actually pretty simple. A is just the total amount you end up with. P is your principal, the money you start with. R is your annual interest rate. N is how often it compounds each year. And T is just time, in years. All this formula does is calculate your earnings, on top of your previous earnings, over and over again. So how much does that little n, the compounding frequency, really matter? Well, looking at this chart, yeah, the more often you compound, the more you make. But, and this is important, notice how the benefit gets smaller and smaller. The jump from compounding once a year to 4 times a year is pretty big, but the jump from monthly to daily, way smaller. The big takeaway here is that while frequency helps a bit, the real superstars of this whole thing are your interest rate and, most importantly, time.
Okay, now for one of the most useful numbers in all of finance. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this section, just one, make it the number 72.
It's called the Rule of 72, and it is a fantastic mental shortcut. All you do is divide 72 by your interest rate, and that gives you a pretty good estimate of how many years it'll take for your money to double. It's not perfectly exact, but for a quick calculation, it's incredibly useful.
And this chart just shows you how powerful that is. At a 4% return, you're waiting 18 years for your money to double. But if you can get an 8% return, boom, it only takes 9 years. That difference in the rate literally cuts your waiting time in half. It's a huge deal.
Okay, so now that we get the mechanics, let's see what this actually looks like in the real world. I want you to think of it like a snowball. You start with a tiny little ball of snow at the top of a big hill. As it rolls, it picks up more snow, gets bigger, and starts moving faster and faster and faster.
This table right here, this is where the magic really starts to show. Let's say you invest just $100 a month. After 10 years, you've put in $12,000 and you have over $20,000. Not bad. But now look at the jump between year 20 and year 30. You put in another 12 grand, sure, but your balance grows by over $150,000. That is your snowball turning into an avalanche.
And this chart just says it all. After 30 years, the money you actually put in from your own pocket is just a tiny fraction of what you end up with. The huge majority of your wealth, we're talking over 5 times what you contributed, came from pure compound growth. Your money literally worked harder than you did.
And if you think this is just some spreadsheet fantasy, look no further than Benjamin Franklin. For real. He left a small chunk of change to Boston and Philadelphia way back in 1790, and his only instruction was to let it compound for 200 years. The result? Millions and millions of dollars from just a few thousand to start. It works. Okay, so you're probably convinced by now. The history's cool, the math is powerful. So the big question is, how do you get started? Well, here is a super simple, actionable framework. Okay, first you gotta automate it. Look at your spending, find some cash, even if it's just $100 a month, and set up automatic transfers so you don't even have to think about it. Second, be smart about where you put it.
Use accounts that give you tax advantages, like a Roth IRA or your job's 401k. They're designed to help your money grow even more efficiently. And third, scale up. As you get raises or your income grows, invest more. Turn that $100 a month into $200, then $500, and just watch that snowball get bigger, faster.
And look, there are so many places to put this plan into action today. You can start with something really safe, like a high-yield savings account. Or if you're looking for higher potential returns over the long haul, you can look at things like low-cost index funds that let you buy a tiny piece of the entire stock market. The options are seriously more accessible now than they've ever been.
So here's the most important point of all. While interest rates are great, the single most powerful variable in this whole equation is time. It is the one thing you can never, ever get more of. The math works, the tools are there. The only question left is, when are you going to start putting time on your side?